Остров Вильный, я русский военный корабль. Предлагаю сложить оружие и сдаться по избежанию кровопролития и неоправданных жертв. В противном случае по вам будет нанесен бомбово-штурмовой удар. Длинный остров, я русский корабль, повторяю. Предлагаю сложить оружие, сдаться, иначе по вам будет нанесен удар. Как поняли меня? Прием. Русский военный корабль, иди нахуй.
The question that we ought to be asking ourselves is, why did NATO even exist after 1990? Throughout the whole history of the Cold War, we were told NATO is necessary to defend Western Europe from the Russian hordes, okay? No more Russian hordes. What happens to NATO? It expands, okay? It expands to the east. Its mission changed. Its official mission now is not to defend Europe from the Russian hordes. It's to control the global energy system, sea lanes and pipelines, and to serve as a U.S.-run intervention force. Well, you know, we're all educated intellectuals. But we can now ask a question. What was the nature of the propaganda we were fed all those years? I mean, if NATO was there to defend the West from the Russians, why is it now expanding right to the borders of Russia, becoming a global U.S. intervention force, protecting sea lanes and pipelines and so on? What that tells us is all the talk about the Cold War was just a pure lie. And there's plenty more evidence for that, which you can go into. Educated intellectuals don't pursue this line of thought, but it's a pretty obvious one. Well, going on to Ukraine, Mearsheimer's point is that for any Russian leader, whoever it might be, Mahatma Gandhi, Ukraine is right at the core of their geostrategic concerns. For Ukraine to be taken into NATO, which is what is repeatedly threatened, would be a very serious threat to Russian security, quite apart from the Star War interests, which go back to the origins of the Russian Empire, in fact. So yeah, you can give arguments against Russian interference in eastern Ukraine after the coup that took place there, but it's a complicated story, and the West is not without its significant initiatives there.
На жаль, ми втратили за сьогодні вже 137 наших героїв, наших громадян. З них 10 офіцерів. Поранено 316. На нашому острові Зміїний, захищаючи його до останнього, всі хлопці, прикордонники, геройські, загинули. Але не поступилися. Всім їм буде присвоєно звання Героя України посмертно. Вічна пам'ять тим, хто віддав життя за Україну.
The Russian military has begun a brutal assault on the people of Ukraine. Without provocation, without justification, without necessity, this is a premeditated attack. We saw a flagrant violation of international law in attempting to unilaterally create two new so-called republics on sovereign Ukrainian territory.
На жаль,
We've been
ми втратили...
transparent with the world. We've shared declassified evidence about Russia's plans the aggressor. And cyber attacks and false pretexts. Putin chose this war. So there could be no confusion. And now he and his country will bear the consequences. What Putin was doing. Today's actions. We've now sanctioned Russian banks that together hold around $1 trillion in assets. Now he and his country. That means every asset they have in America will be frozen. This includes VTB, the second largest bank in Russia, which has $250 billion in assets. As promised, we're also adding the names to the list of Russian elites and their family members that were sanctioning as well. Our forces are not and will not be engaged
Earlier
in
today,
Russia and
President
Ukraine.
Putin delivered another televised
Our
address,
forces are not
offered
going
the
to
absurd
Europe to fight in
pretext
Ukraine,
that he sought
but
the
to defend our NATO allies and
demilitarization and
reassure those allies in the
denazification
East.
of Ukraine.
As we respond,
In fact, he is
my
hurling the
administration
might of
is
his
using the
military
tools,
machine
heavy tools,
against a
to protect
free
American
and
families
peaceful
and businesses
neighbor in
from
breach of
rising
his own
prices at the gas
explicit
pump.
pledge and
You
every
know, we're taking
principle
active
of
steps to
civilized
bring down the
behavior
cost,
between states.
and American oil and gas companies should not exploit this moment to hike their prices and raise profits. You know, in our sanctions package, we specifically designed to allow energy payments to continue. We are closely monitoring energy supplies for any disruption. I know this is hard, and the Americans are already hurting. I will do everything in my power to limit the pain the American people are feeling at the gas pump. This is critical to me. But this aggression cannot go unanswered. If it did, the consequences for America would be much worse.
어떠한 경우에도 정당화될 수 있다. 우크라이나의 주권, 영토 보전 및 독립은 반드시 보장되어야 합니다.
Dieser 24. Februar ist ein fruchtbarer Tag für die Ukraine und ein düsterer Tag für Europa. Mit seinem Angriff auf die Ukraine bringt der russische Präsident Putin abermals das damit Leiden und Zerstörung über seine direkte Macht verletzt die Souveränität und die Grenzen der Ukraine. Er gefährdet das Leben von unzähligen Unschuldigen in der Ukraine, dem Brudervolk Russlands.
But I'll call it what it is. The Russian government launched a brutal invasion, unprovoked, on Ukraine and should be condemned for doing so, and Australia does. Together with the international community, we are banding together in strong terms to condemn these outrageous acts in the strongest possible terms.
Αποθέσει αρχής Η Ελλάδα σέβεται την εδαφική ακεραιότητα και την κυριαρχία και την ανεξαρτησία όλων των χωρών. Καταδικάζει συνεπώς ανεπιφύλακτα αναθεωρητικές ενέργειες που αντιβαίνουν σε αυτές τις αξίες. Και πολύ περισσότερο καταδικάζει την ομή βία, από την οποία δυστυχώς πολλοί αθώοι θα χάσουν τη ζωή τους.
今回のロシアによる侵攻は力による一方的な現状変更を認めないとの国際秩序の根幹を揺るがすものであり、ロシアを強く非難するとともに米国をはじめとする国際社会と連携して迅速に対処してまいります。
Canada is unequivocal in our condemnation of Russia's unprovoked and unjustified attack on the sovereign, democratic state of Ukraine. President Putin's brazen disregard for international law, democracy, and human life are a massive threat to security and peace around the world.
中方正在密切地关注最新的事态，我们也呼吁各方保持克制，避免局势失控。
L'Ucraina è un paese europeo, una nazione amica, è una democrazia colpita nella propria legittima sovranità. Quanto succede in Ucraina riguarda tutti noi, il nostro vivere da liberi, le nostre democrazie.
En primer lugar, no dije que las tropas irían a estas repúblicas ahora mismo. Segundo, sería muy complicado, imposible predecir un escenario, un guión, porque depende de los acontecimientos reales en el territorio. Y en cuanto a su primera pregunta, ¿por qué cree que el bien no debe tener fuerza? No lo creo. Creo que, al contrario, el bien debe saber defenderse. Y de esto vamos a partir. Muchas gracias.
Russia's attack on Ukraine is tantamount to an attack on the UN and every member state in the chamber tonight.
Peace on our continent has been shattered.
I said it in the general.
We now have war in Europe on a scale and of a type we thought belonged to history.
Rusya'nın bugün erken saatlerde Ukrayna topraklarına başlattığı askeri harekatı kabul edilemez bulduğumuzu
Шановні громадяни України, сьогодні вранці президент Путін оголосив проведення спеціальної військової операції на Донбасі.
Și complet ilegală a violenței armate masive împotriva unui stat independent și suveran. Astăzi, la eforturile comunității internaționale pentru menținerea păcii și dialog, Rusia a răspuns cu rachete care lovesc orașele și obiectivele militare ucrainene.
President Putin, in the name of humanity, bring your troops back to Russia. In the name of humanity, do not allow to start in Europe what could be the worst war since the beginning of the century.
Colombia rechaza de manera categórica la guerra y se une a todas las voces de la comunidad internacional que hoy claman para un rápido retiro de las tropas de Rusia en territorio ucraniano.
Ukraine to launch a full-scale invasion. We're seeing all the signs of that, the attempts to create a false flag of claiming that the Ukrainians have started it, the attempts to use cyber warfare, and of course the huge build-up that we've seen on the borders of Russian military forces, which are simply increasing every day, contrary to the Kremlin's claims.
Just to be clear, by full-scale invasion, do you believe he intends to take over the whole country, including the capital, Kiev?
Yes, although we don't know exactly when that will happen, but we certainly see forces are amassed around Ukraine, and we see strong signs that that is exactly what he is attempting to do. He said that he doesn't believe in the existence of Ukraine. He believes it should be under Russian control, and I fear that we have to take him